Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today we'll be discussing the SSOU usage statistics for the month of April. Now this isn't going to be a fully fledged tier shift. In fact, there's not going to be much shifting at all because it's a 3-month basis right now, not a 1-month basis. But I still want to discuss some trends in the metagame, how we may perceive things, and what has been seeing a lot of usage versus what maybe not. We're also going to look at some projected tier shifts, so if the 3 months were to end today, what would change a bit later. And on top of that, I'm going to give you guys some little information on what's coming on the channel. You know what, actually we're going to start with that. So first off, this is actually my first recording on a brand new computer. I finally found a keeper. I've been through 3 computers this year. It's been a journey, but I want you guys to let me know how you think I sound. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated, so just leave that down below. I've been tinkering with settings non-stop to the point that I was tinkering so long that I couldn't get a video up yesterday. Just I ran out of time, so I'm sorry about that, but I think I've found sort of a healthy middle ground, but this is very much subject to change, so don't get used to how I sound right now. Anyway, in addition to that, we're going to be getting to more content with the lower tier to the top series. That's something I've been really motivated about, and a lot of people seem to like that. So if you want to check that out, it's just me laddering an OU up to the top 500 with only Pokemon that are not OU by usage. So if you want to use things like Surfetch plus Future Sight Mew, really cool time. We're probably going to use some Sun teams in the future. It's going to be fun, and we're going to see a lot of Pokemon we don't see. So check that out for sure. In addition, I'm going to keep up with the Black-White OU uploads for my SBL games and other tournament coverage as well. The World Cup Pokemon is coming, and I'm not going to miss out on that opportunity. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up in the channel. Anyway, let's talk about the OU usage stats, the 1695 stats, which is like high ladder stats in the SSOU metagame. So first off, Landorus T, of course, is our king at the top, followed by a couple of dragon types, Dragapult and Garchomp. So it's worth noting that the combination of Landorus T and Garchomp makes it up for about 65-66% of teams, which is pretty impressive considering they're both very common stealth rockers. That also means that the rest of the metagame in terms of setting up stealth rock is a bit less diversified, which means that if you use things like Corviknight as a defogger, which likely matches up pretty well with both of them, all of a sudden you're able to really handle both. Or something like Skarmory to handle them defensively, you know, and you handle both. And I realize that, obviously, it's not always that linear, but you notice that there's more Corviknight than before it's cracked the top 5. And even things like Skarmory, now easily OU by usage when it previously was a UU Pokemon, seeing number 30 at 7%. This is kind of how I see the OU metagame going, in sense of it's reacting and then counter-reacting. You know, we have cause and effect relationships in the usage statistics, and I find this type of baseline analysis to be very interesting, and something that shows our metagame is continuing to evolve. People that are saying it's stagnant, saying the same balance sequence are happening over and over and over again, maybe if you use the same teams excessively, that is the case, but there is so much room for evolution. The metagame is continuing to evolve, and I find this a sign of metagame health. However, there are also, for every action, there is a reaction, you know, and just like we saw Corviknight and Skarmory pop up more to counteract those ground types, which of course are very good in the metagame, we're probably going to see more things to beat them. For example, you see Magnezone usage all the way up in the top 30 as well, a Pokemon that barely was OU at points as well. Just right next to Skarmory, in fact, so that's interesting too. What's going to counteract that? We'll have to wait and see. It's kind of where the metagame's at right now, though. Now let's look at some big risers, some Pokemon that, in my opinion, have climbed up the usage. And of course, there are some things that we probably have to ignore. For example, Zamazenta Crown usage, obviously that's banned from SSU now, so despite it being, you know, number 7, and had it gotten a full month, it probably would have creeped up to number, I want to say number 4, probably would have been, yeah, number 4. Despite that, it's also worth noting that that's banned, and Volcarona usage definitely was inflated a little bit by it. Same with Slowbro usage, which, as you see here, where is Slowbro? Oh, Slowbro, yeah, Slowbro 23. Slowbro probably would have been closer to number 30, maybe 35, and Slowking probably would have been a little higher to counteract that, if you know what I mean. Maybe Zapdos a little inflated too, so worth keeping that in mind. But with that said, those Pokemon aside, there's still a lot of things to look at. Rillaboom still in the top 10 despite being held back a little bit by Zamazenta Crown. I think that's pretty promising. Also, honestly, I could have seen Rillaboom maybe overcoming Heatran and Corviknight and Clefable on the users, but I don't think it would have cracked the top 3. I think the top 3 was there to stay. Yeah, so some Pokemon that I think are really underrated in the 10 through 20 range, Pokemon that probably should be top 10. The main one is going to be Toxapex and Dragonite and Slowking. Slowking, in my opinion, is already a top 10 Pokemon. It's ranked A+ in the viability rankings. Future Sight plus Teleport is so good. It's one of the few Pokemon that can handle things like Heatran, Nidoking, even pivot in and out of things like Calm and Clefable, letting you get in something like a quicker Pokemon, like an Excadrill, or a Metal that might want to switch into a Flamethrower, or Pokemon that weak to Thunderbolt. that don't want to switch into that, or Shifu Rapid Strike, for example, and get it into the Surging Strike range, and so on and so forth. So that's interesting. Dragonite's Pokemon that, in my opinion, the Dragon Dance sets are super underrated in this metagame. Very hard to take out. The combination of Heavy Duty Boots, Multiscale, and Roost makes it a defensive behemoth, being able to check things like Rillaboom, Landorus T potentially as well, while also being a great offensive sweeper. Not many things are going to want to take a number of hits from it, and that is great. I feel like Dragonite's really finding its place in this metagame. I'm glad it's settling in as number 17, but I can see it going even higher. Finally, Pex has just always been a top 10 Pokemon. It really isn't at its best point right now, but it's still somewhere between 8 and 10 in my eyes, so rest assured it'll get back up there, like it or not. Personally, not, but hey, that is completely fine. Of course, you have it your way, no matter how it goes. Alrighty, so let's go down and list a bit more. What are some Pokemon here that are just hanging on by a thread? Some Pokemon that maybe have seen better days. And the first one's going to be Kyurem. Kyurem shot all the way up in viability once Magearna and Cinderace got banned. It was absolutely booming. You could argue it was a top 10, top 12 Pokemon. However, now you see it well outside of the top 15, even outside of the top 20, hovering below 10% usage. In my opinion, that's indicative of a metagame that wasn't super friendly to it. Not only was Zamazenta Crown allowed at points, but also we're seeing more Blissey. We're seeing a lot of Steel types that don't mind Freeze Dry. For example, while Skarmory and Corviknight are popping up, which take neutral damage from it, we're also seeing a little bit more Metal. We're seeing Heatran all over the place, which means the choice spec set is more prediction reliant. All in all, I think Kyurem is still very, very good in this metagame, but I think that people say like, oh, this is a top 10 Pokemon, this is A+ in viability. I think that alone was a little bit of a stretch, and moreover, I'm glad to see it kind of regress a little bit towards the mean. I do think it belongs somewhere in this kind of like 17 to 23 range, if you will, and it's right there at 22. So yeah, I think that's indicative of its placement. Next up, we're going to see Tornadus Therian all the way down at 26, which is absolutely crazy. Tornadus Therian, say what you want about its inaccuracy, is clearly a better Pokemon than this. That's a big talking point in my eyes. I feel as if a Pokemon with such great longevity, despite having, a more offensive build, a Pokemon that it can be used as a special or mixed attacker, a Pokemon with all of that utility and speed, makes it so that, in my opinion, it should never ever fall out of the top 15, let alone the top 25. So seeing it below things like Bisharp or Mandibuzz, two dark types with a lot of niche in this metagame, especially with Dragapult taking up in usage, is a little surprising and shows that the latter is very aware of trends going on right now, and also probably very conscious of the accuracy of Hurricane. So that's pretty interesting to see people adapting, whereas earlier in the generation, people were perhaps a bit more reckless, spamming things like Pyro Ball and High Jump Kick on Cinderace, or Tornadus T's Hurricane. All of a sudden, at long last, now we're seeing much less usage on that front, and I think that's pretty impressive. So yeah, I definitely am fond of Tornadus T, but I also understand why there's some hesitancy there. Next up, let's go a little bit down. Slowking Galar's Fall from Grace is basically complete at this point. While at one point was a top 10 Pokemon with things like Magearna and Pheromosa in the metagame, it continued to fall down and down and down, even getting overtaken by its lovely brother Slowking, who is, again, an absolutely great special defensive presence. Slowking Galar, unfortunately, lacks Teleport, reliant more on Assault Vest sets, weak to ground types. There are some things that really add up, and it doesn't end very well for it, unfortunately. But it's still very viable. It still's got great special bulk and is good on bulky offensive teams, so don't chat on it yet, especially with the Nasty Plot set. Definitely seeing some viability there. Some Pokemon clinging on to OU viability here. OU usage here. We're going to see like Swampert and Hydreigon. Interesting because Hydreigon in the Spectrum metagame was such good. It was a top 10 Pokemon, but now with that band, you're seeing it almost out of the top 40. Alongside things like Victini and Mew, which are kind of just very fringe viable Pokemon, Zapdos Galar, which has been kind of UU by usage for a while now, and that's pretty crazy. However, we are seeing some Pokemon that, in my eyes, it's good to see them seeing consistent usage. Hawlucha, which is great on high brow offensive teams, and Weavile, which is a very scary dark type in this metagame. Despite being held back a little bit by Zamazenta Crown, I'm glad that Weavile is seeing an uptick in usage, and I hope to see it continue to climb up all the way up, maybe into the top 20, 25. So that'll be interesting to see as well. Going down, some Pokemon that, in my opinion, should see more usage in OU, but aren't quite OU. Things like Nidoking, which I guess technically is OU, but it would, as of right now, would fall to UU. Pokemon like Scizor and Tangrowth as well. Pokemon that, in my eyes, have great distinct defensive niches. Tangrowth has a physical wall, and Scizor has a Lele check, as a Kyurem check. Very important there. And finally, also, I think Rotom Wash should definitely see an uptick in usage as well. It's a good pivot, it has nice longevity, and some good tools as well. Now, I think we pretty much went through most of the top 50, and I don't want to go ahead and elaborate on every single Pokemon, because you guys know what most of these Pokemon do, and on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and explore some of the Pokemon that are more down this list more in my lower tier to the top series, so definitely check that out. But if you guys have any questions on why Pokemon are seeing any uses there, feel free to leave me a comment. You see this top 50, I can give my thoughts on literally any of them, so just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll definitely save my more prolonged thoughts for there, so yeah, I love engaging with you guys. Anyway, let's go to this special post my guy Marty made, and for 3 months cutoff projected shift fan. So these are the Pokemon that would be shifting tiers if we were to see this like change now. Weavile would go to UU, BL to OU, which is huge. Weavile would cement itself as a legitimate OU Pokemon, but then 3 Pokemon would drop. Well, obviously others from lower tiers. For example, we'd see, you know, a ton of movers down here, but we're talking mostly about OU in this video. 3 Pokemon drop from OU to UU. That would be Regieleki, Pelipper, and Nidoking. Regieleki finally dropping to UU again is long overdue. The screen set is very fringe, definitely taking a backseat to Tapu Koko right now, and the offensive sets are absolutely horrible. They have no way of touching ground types. They're basically just a weak explosion, and then they're done with. They force projected switch-ins, sure, but that's about it. With Hidden Power Ice, it'd be absolutely amazing, but unfortunately, despite being very strong with the electric attacks and very fast, it's fragile, and it lacks the coverage to do anything to virtually any immunity, and they're far too common in this metagame. Next up, we have Pelipper. Pelipper, the face of Rain teams, finally falling off a little bit. While Rain is still a very viable archetype, it definitely has seen better days, and that is quite unfortunate. So yeah, we'll have to see how that pans out in lower tiers, or if it'll rise back up to OU by the time these shifts are over. And finally, Nidoking, my guy, definitely a potent special attacker in the OU metagame, but fallen off due to the abundance of Slowking and other potential checks to it as well, while also being a little too slow to be considered a fast attacker and a little too frail to be considered a bulky attacker. It's just caught in that fringe where, you know, you got to be either fast or durable to get, you know, your hits off as an offensive Pokemon, and it isn't particularly either, which is problematic. Sure, it pairs well with slow U-turn and teleport to get free turns, but when it's still prediction reliant to get kills and it can't break through things like special defensive Slowking, you are going to run into trouble with your Nidoking there. So yeah, I think it goes without saying that Nidoking's seen better days in the metagame, but it could still see a little bit of a resurgence and pop up as a very viable option. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. What do you think? Do you think Regieleki, Pelipper, and Nidoking are going to rebound, and any of them will end up in OU, or do you think they'll continue to take a nosedive and fall into lower tiers? In addition, do you think Weavile will cement itself as a long-term OU presence, or will it drop back down to UUBL, or even be retested in UU if that happens? Finally, are there any other Pokemon do you think are on the cusp that should see more usage in OU or should fall all the way down to UU? Let me know all of that and any other thoughts you have down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a great weekend. This is Finch. I'll talk to you guys sometime soon. Later.